especially if you are a top performer and you have notoriety, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's inside your company, whatever you've done to get to where you are, do not think that people need to go through the same issues that you went through in order to succeed, right? Like, look at every progress that we made for women and human rights and everything in our world. Like, why would we make other people suffer? Be proud of the fact, right, that you overachieved despite the circumstances and open a path for others to do better.
This isn't your average revenue podcast. It's Ashley and Katrina's Infinite Revenue Playlist, powered by Comsor. And it's your new work bestie. Through conversations with other women in the revenue space, Ashley and Katrina get candid about their unique experiences, help women tackle challenges in the workplace, and uncover ways to grow as revenue pros. Maybe you'll learn a little, cry a little, laugh a little, have an epiphany, or at the very least, get a killer playlist to listen to while you work. Being a woman in this industry is wild. Let's talk about it.
Hello, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Katrina.
Welcome to another episode of Ashley and Katrina's Infinite Revenue Playlist. Today, our guest is Sam McKenna, CEO at Sam Sells Consulting. She doesn't really need an intro. Sam, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for having me. So nice to be here.
We're so excited to have you. I have your bio here. I don't think anybody really needs us to read it out loud, but I am going to do that so everybody knows, just in case they're living under a rock and they don't know who Samantha McKenna is. She is CEO of Sam Sales Consulting, an award-winning sales leader, brand ambassador for LinkedIn. She's an angel investor, board member, highly sought-after speaker, so thank you for coming today. She's broken 13 sales records, believes great sales are rooted in manners, and consistently looks for opportunities to keep growing her company's philanthropic efforts, which is awesome. Sam has over 65,000 LinkedIn followers. So if you haven't heard of Sam, you probably should go follow her right now. She gives out tangible sales tips, actionable advice. I know my executive team respects Sam and listens to what she says. She's been a top 50 woman in revenue, top 25, top 20 woman in sales leadership. I don't know if I should just keep going because you might not be able to walk.
Just nip that at the butt.
Long list of awards and accolades. Basically, Sam is experienced as hell.
Yes, and I do want to call one more thing out here though, because both Katrina and I are military spouses, or Katrina used to be. So that's another thing that Sam cares about is helping push women forward when we are in this unique situation. So.
Which obviously means a lot to us, but I am no longer a military spouse as of 2 weeks ago. So,
oh man, you just ETS'd, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Or whatever it is for your branch. Yeah.
Yeah, and today is my husband's second day of work as a civilian ever. So
oh my gosh.
He got all dressed up in a suit for the first time and went to the office.
Well, I will quickly plug one of our own Sam Sailors who runs an Instagram site called Wives of the Armed Forces. So if you don't follow that, they've got about 13,000 followers and lots of good resources there.
I love it.
I wish I had known about that sooner, but I will still go follow them.
Well, I'm still a military wife for a little while. Actually, in the middle of a military move right now. So I'm in my parents' house as we speak.
Always need a good home base.
Definitely.
Yes.
So for those of you that are listening for the first time, we do take a little bit of a musical twist to this podcast. We do call it the Infinite Revenue Playlist for a reason. We were inspired by the concept of having a walk-up song, which as customer-facing professionals, sometimes we're compared to athletes, and typically athletes will have a walk-up song that they play before they walk out onto the field and get ready to play a game, or in our case, before we walk into the office and ready to crush our goals. So we always ask our guests to pick a walk-up song that either describes them as a professional or somehow relates to the topics that we're talking about, or that's something that they just vibe with. So Sam, we'd love to hear what your walk-up song is.
Well, there's a great guy who's on LinkedIn called Riley Blaisdell, if you guys follow him, and he always calls me the Beyonce of LinkedIn, which is an accolade that I 100% do not deserve. But in tie to that, it would be Beyonce's Who Runs the World, obviously girls. And I will plug also, we have a monthly women's leadership group. It's totally free. We have about 1,000 subscribers called Who Runs the World. And we meet the third Thursday of every month. So if you're not a part of that and you're looking for a squad of hyper enthusiastic people who will support you, come hell or high water, come join us and sign up on our website. So Beyonce, Who Runs the World, is definitely it.
Riley's a pro at giving those monikers. I can't remember what he said to me. He said talking to me was like going to a mosh pit, I think. So I love it. He may have to be one of our first male guests on this.
Oh, I dig it. I think that one needs a little explaining, I think, Riley.
I have the DM. There was a whole explanation, but yeah.
Oh, he's so nice.
He's
the best. Yeah, we'll definitely have to have him on. So do you play that walk-up song to get you pumped up, or is it more just like it kind of follows you everywhere you go as a professional?
That's definitely my speaker walk-up song for SKOs that require it. I will tell you though, when I get lying down, so we talk about sales, right? And any revenue role, what a roller coaster it is, highest highs, lowest lows. When you get rejected or when something happens or you thought you were going to get a deal that you don't actually get, sometimes you need to be hyped back up. And my go-to song for that is always J-Lo's Get Right. And I always love watching the video too, because I'm an old school. And yes, I believe in music videos still. I love like her moves, her yelling. You don't even have to really be a good singer to chant along. So that's probably what plays in the background more often than not to get me hyped back up and realize that I can do it, even when I couldn't do it just then.
We're going to have to add that to the playlist as well. You said J-Lo Get Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a great video. She plays like 6 roles and she looks amazing in every single role she plays. So
I love it. You're the first guest that gets 2 walk-up songs.
Yeah,
so
girl.
Very special.
I love it.
So obviously, given Sam's background, there's probably 100,000 different topics we could have selected to chat with her about. And quite frankly, it was really hard for me and Ashley to figure out what we wanted to discuss with you because we felt like there was just so many things that you could have shared your wisdom on. But ultimately, we wanted to talk about LinkedIn etiquette and social selling because obviously you're the master at that. You crush it. We all follow you. You do a great job. And then, of course, we'd love to hear about your experience in general as a woman in revenue and any advice you'd like to share. But starting off on the LinkedIn etiquette part, the reason why I picked this is I was reading your newsletter from a couple of weeks ago, Sam Sells, everyone subscribe. And there was a little mini list. I think it was like ins of sales and outs of sales for 2023. And one of the things that was on the out list was pitch slapping. And I know that's a very hot topic right now. And that kind of led to the greater topic of just LinkedIn etiquette, because as sales professionals, we live on LinkedIn. Well, mostly in SaaS and tech, but we are there for building pipeline, prospecting, researching, building relationships. And I think there's no course or instruction on how we interact and show our manners and etiquette on there. And we'd love to get your personal perspective on how you think salespeople should behave, interact, and of course the etiquette that they should be showing.
Yeah, I think let's talk about a couple of things here. So I think one of the key mistakes we make in sales is focusing on quantity over quality. Everybody is in a rush to shortcut everything, right? We want to shortcut a qualification on the first call. We want to shortcut having to use Show Me You Know Me, and we'll just personalize at scale and use ChatGPT. You want to shortcut everything to get to our deals. Now, I am as urgent as they come. I am as impatient as they come. I also want to do that. But I also know that I can shortcut all of that stuff if I just do sales the right way. So if I invest in Show Me You Know Me, if I invest in my relationship with somebody, if I do not the pitch slap on LinkedIn and instead engage with them a little, send them some emails, and then send a thoughtful connection request. So I would say the etiquette, right, in terms of even pulling down the pitch slap, starts with exactly how you get someone's attention. So I think one, our guidance of when the LinkedIn touch comes into play is first and foremost, send a few emails. Send your first manual email, do Show Me You Know Me, write a subject line that makes absolutely no sense except for the person reading it, right? Do that first. Send your second email, send a third one that has specific value in it, of a challenge you can solve for that buyer. And then send your connection request on LinkedIn. I cannot tell you how many people are out there being like, quality, forget it, quality, quantity, volume is key. Don't send a custom connection request. I get more people who accept my connection requests if I just send blank ones. And I'm like, cool. And then what happens? So if I go and connect with Ashley and then she accepts, then what? What am I supposed to do next? What's my next step? Oh, your next step is to pitch slap? Cool. That's what I thought. So instead, right, do all those steps, connect with the person on LinkedIn and simply say something like, hey, Ashley, my name might look familiar as I've sent you a few emails. Would be so appreciative of the chance to talk to you about how Sam Cells can support you and your teams. If you're ever up for a chat, let me know. It's direct. It reminds her I've sent her some emails. Maybe she even goes back and looks at it. She sees my face. She sees our common connection. She sees my work history. She sees I might know a thing or two about whatever the hell it is I'm selling, hopefully. And then she accepts. So it's just one quick thing that you can do to change, right? You're open and honest about what you want after you've put in the normal work. And then the rest of the social selling comes into place. So one quick tip, and then we talk about this forever, but one more thing. If Ashley accepts, she either A, says, oh my God, thank God you reached out again. I can't wait to meet. Doesn't happen often, right? Or
Right.
she does what most people do, which is either to accept and say nothing. Great. Or she accepts and she says, thanks, period. And I'm like, cool, period. What now? So what I would say, right, is when you get that either blank or generic message back, just write them again. And what happens when you do that is your little blue bar will start to flash on the bottom of their screen. Your name will pop up in their LinkedIn tab. The buyer will groan because what Ashley is thinking now when I do that is, here comes my pitch slap. I can't wait for this. And when she opens up my message, I'm just going to say, thanks for connecting, Ashley. Looking forward to staying in touch. And she's going to be like, what the hell just happened? She's not pitching me. And I'll be like, just you wait, it's coming. But just a small little thing like that, right, can change it. And just one quick note, and then I promise I'll stop talking. If you think, well, cool, I have 5,000 people I'm supposed to reach out to every single week. How the hell am I supposed to do that? Segment your highest propensity buyers and your highest titles first, right? Think about going after the right people. It's like walking into a bar and just starting to talk to random people instead of saying, you know what, I can easily segment people who want to have kids and have high FICO scores. No one, just me. Okay. So think about that. Are we targeting the right people, or are we just aimlessly shooting in the breeze? Target the right people, put in the work. I promise it'll pay off because nobody else is doing that to them. You can stand out by focusing on quality over quantity.
I do a lot of social selling personally. Like at my organization, I'm the person that people will come to. And I'm not famous like Sam, but I've got a little bit more going than some of the people that are newer, right?
Yeah.
But I have a really hard time personally figuring out when to actually make the ask, because I err on the side of like, I don't want to ruin this relationship by pitching too soon or saying the wrong thing to this person who like I really, really want to talk to. And a lot of times it organically happens. So it's still worth it to me, even if I don't make that ask a little bit more aggressively. Do you have advice for people like me?
Yeah, I think you, again, have to make the investment in the relationship, right? So one, after you've done those first few emails, it's totally okay to send the connection request. What do we do after that, right? Make another investment in them. So even if they don't post content, right, send them a message that would be helpful. I will tell you, you will see so much advice that gets so many engagements out there in terms of posts of things to send. So for instance, yesterday somebody posted, I loathe this person's advice, and sometimes I comment and say I respectfully disagree. But anyway, and said you should send 3 LinkedIn messages back to back, 3 days in a row.
No.
And yeah, lots going on.
Aggressive.
But the message also said that you should say like, hey, Ashley, I see you're hiring. Here's some steps, a playbook to use for when hiring. Hope this helps. Bye. What about the playbook? What kind of expertise do you have? What's something you can teach me? Why should I even believe you? We have to think about our messaging in a less generic way, but 2, you have to think about it in a way that's not giving the buyer homework. My old rep, Jason, who I adore, who is at Speckett, go Jason Darling, I'll just say his last name, once sent like the head of demand generation at like Oracle, a link to our webinar library. And so it was like, Larry, here's our webinar library. See if there's anything interesting and you want to talk about it. And I'm like, did you just give this guy access to like 600 webinars that we have and tell him to do his homework? And he was like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. Think about what you can do to make somebody's life easier. So I might say, hey, Katrine, here's something specifically that we're helping people work on when it comes to hiring, right? One of the challenges we notice in founders and leaders of sales, whatever, is muddling through the noise. When they get 1,000 applications, what do? Here's one quick hint. We've got 7 more in this playbook. Hope it's helpful. It's the same message, just written in a different way and giving them a preview of actually what it is that they're going to learn. So think about that. Once that's done, maybe comment on something, maybe tag them in something else and say, hey, Sarah, Ashley, Sam, whatever, I see that you're hiring, right? I saw that you're hiring, saw this post, thought of you, tag them in. find a way to get them to continue thinking of you and in a way that you're genuinely adding value. And then saying, right, going to make that ask 3-4 days later, or wait for the weekend and strategically bubble hunt when they're online and they're less distracted. You'd say, wanted to pop in once again, would love the chance, or I'd tried never to use a love. I'd appreciate, I'd be grateful for the chance to chat with you about how we can help you specifically with hiring. Again, if you're ever up for chat, might we find some time over the next 2 weeks? Make still a soft ask, but make that direct ask. You'll be surprised at how people respond to that, especially if you time it right. Classic. People who are like, send your messages Monday at 8 a.m. Are you nuts? Like Monday at 8 a.m.? I can barely remember what the hell happened last week and what I need to do, what I owe from Friday when I like tried to skirt out at 4:45 so I get to the happy hour. Monday at 8 a.m., I'm sure as hell not responding to you. Saturday at 8 a.m., maybe. Friday at 11 p.m., maybe. Sunday at 11 p.m., probably. So go online, message these people, and go to your inbox, right? Check the bubble hunting. Bubble hunting is, do you see a green dot next to their name? Everybody will have one, or a green dot with a circle in it, or they will have no dot, which means they're not online. Green dot means they're online. If you see them on and they're on their desktop, message them. Message them then. I can't tell you how many deals we've won because of doing that. I want to deal with LinkedIn of all people just by doing that and saying, I loved your article, it reminds me of Show Me, You Know Me. And the woman's like, tell me more about that. And I was like, okay. And then we have our deal. We just signed our second contract. Anyway,
Congrats.
We'll stop talking.
No, this is all really good tactical advice and tips. And it all goes back to what you originally said of the quality over quantity interactions, which I think it's really going to set apart two different groups of sellers, I think, in the coming years, because I think, at least when I first started, and I think when Ashley first started, it was really that quantity over quality. And it was drop as many people as you can into the sequence, spray and pray kind of tactic, keep hammering them with messages, and maybe you'll get 1 out of 100 people to respond. Yeah. And it's true that this definitely takes a lot more effort, a lot more time and energy and attention and care, but your response rate is going to be significantly higher after a while of investing in these relationships, which is the end goal.
Exactly.
I always broke the rules and had the lowest activity metrics, but the highest conversion rates. And everyone was like, we don't understand. Well, there's a reason for it.
Same as you. I think I always had about the lowest pipeline. And then when I got yelled at it, I was like, but mine's all real. So
I did
go talk to everybody else.
Yeah. When Q1, I literally executed on every single thing that was in my pipeline. And everyone was like, how did you do that?
Yeah, because I didn't lie. Weird.
Yeah.
When I was in SDR, first starting out in the SaaS space, I never used the sequences. Well, maybe for the first weeks until I realized it was not my voice or tone. I did not feel comfortable sending those. I had a completely manual sequence in Outreach. Literally every message template was blank or was like a LinkedIn interaction. And I'll never forget, our headquarters were in Paris, and the CRO came probably 8 months later to visit our New York office. And he walks over to my desk and he's like, why is your close won rate at 65% of the opportunities that you bring in? And the next highest is 13% for any other SDR.
You're like,
and he literally kept going, they're fake numbers. You're closing fake deals. And I'm like as a joke, right? He's just like tugging my tail. And I was like, honestly, it's because I'm not using the sequence. And it's because I'm literally posting all this content on LinkedIn that's relevant to the people that are buying. So they're liking my stuff months before I ask anything of them. And then they slide into my LinkedIn DMs and say, hey, I see you work at blah, blah. I'd love to learn more about the software there.
Yep. And it's amazing. I think same story across the board for my success, right? How are you doing it? Because I'm being insubordinate. I'm not listening to you guys. I've never made a cold call in my life, which always upsets people. And then I'd say I don't believe in cold calling, which further upsets people. But always done things differently, right? And just trusted my gut. I will say, if you are in an environment where you have to make 100 calls and you're like, there's just not a shot in hell I have time for Show Me, You Know Me, I would say figure out how to game the system to make your 100 calls. Call your mom 100 times. Who cares? And then put in the time to Show Me, You Know Me. And then when they come and ask you why it is you're succeeding over everybody else, you'll say it's that. I'll tell a quick story about a BDR that I met through Sales Assembly. For anybody who doesn't know them, they're a fantastic sales training shop based out of Chicago. But the rep got put on a PIP. And right as he got put on the PIP, he listened to my Show Me, You Know Me BDR certification that I did for Sales Assembly. And he was like, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm going to lose my job anyway. And so he stopped making cold calls. He did show me, you know me, and he got to 197% of plan the next, 69% of plan the next month. He's like, this show me, you know me saved my job. And when they asked me what it was that I was doing better, I just wasn't listening to their advice. I think we also don't pay attention to how things change, right? And how we sell and market in a modern way. So for people who do still make 100 cold calls a day, especially if you are in B2B sales tech, you are missing the mark. There's so many smarter things we can do, from great quality emails to social selling, to be smart in the way that we go after business. And I think majority of companies have yet to wake up to that.
I love that you're taking such a hard stance on the cold calling, because I am also very anti-cold call. It has never worked for me, right? I could
Never
call 100 people, and even if some pick up, they never want to talk to me. It's never worked. I've always had my strong suit on LinkedIn and email. And the company I'm at now, Comstor, is very anti-cold calling, because also the people we sell to don't have phones, right? They literally don't have work phones anymore. And they get pissed when you call them on their personal cell. I would also be pissed. And you're the first person that's actually come on our show and been like, nope, I don't like it. I don't like cold calls. And I love it.
Talk about that forever. I think the thing that's funny too is, like, in getting to change people's minds, right? If you give them data on how tough cold calling is, right? And you say, if you spend, I don't know, 3 hours writing 20 great show me, you know me emails in a day, right? That's a lot of work. 3 hours is a lot of work. If you do that, you will probably get we call it 50, 60% open rate. You will probably get a 12 to 20% reply rate. Even if you don't get a single meeting from that, you've built a positive brand, somebody's replied to you, opened the door to connecting with them on LinkedIn, and you can very positively and politely ask them for an introduction to the right person, while also offering to protect their privacy and falling on your sword of how difficult it is to find the right buyer. Would they be so willing to help you, instead of being like, can you point me in the right direction, which most people do, which is bananas. When we talk about that and we say, here's the output, people still yell at us, it's too much work, it's quality over quantity over quality that wins every time. But if we talk about cold calling and we say, number one, it takes an average of 11 touches to get a hold of somebody these days. Number two, you have an average show rate of 37%. That means that do the math, over 50% of your calls are not going to show. What an epic waste of time, not only for your BDRs, but then the AE that's going to show the meeting. And finally, 85, 86% of cold call numbers are immediately blocked, probably mostly by me.
And me.
If we know the numbers suck so hard, why do we keep getting pissed about even just having to change it, right? Like, this isn't working. Modernize. And most leaders don't modernize because they're like, well, shit, I have no idea what to do. Be honest. Hey, times have changed. I have no clue. I left out a word there. Clue what I'm doing.
You can swear here.
Everyone swears on our podcast.
I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. Get the education you need. Don't be a disservice to your organization, right? And if your organization wouldn't support your education or figuring out how to do it right, get the hell out of there and find somebody, invest in your own education until you find a new job.
I was just going to say, the point of our podcast is elevating women. One of the things about social selling that made it possible for me to continue to be a woman in sales after having children is that you can do it outside of the 9 to 5 cold calling blocks. I think that I probably wouldn't still be in sales after having 2 kids and a military husband and all of these things if I hadn't discovered social selling and the ability to build my brand, interact with people outside of work hours without feeling like I'm hustling, right? And like being a crazy person, like sitting on the couch with my nursing baby, but scrolling through LinkedIn is a huge game changer. And I don't know if we acknowledge that very often. The whole cold call grind in the office for 5 hours is built for brand new out of college kids who don't care that it's not efficient. And I just wanted to call that out as a women in sales podcast, that's a huge reason I still am here. And I think that's important.
I think my former team got me a fake tattoo that said, show me you know me. My current team, I think, will get me a fake tattoo that says, that's a great post. Because I talk about every single time they talk about an experience, I say that, Ashley, that is a great post, right? Thinking about perspectives from people like you that we haven't even been able to imagine ourselves is huge, right? So let's think about this in the super selfish sales leadership way. If I encourage you to social sell, I'm probably going to get more hours out of you than I anticipated, right? You're probably going to check LinkedIn in the morning and engage at 6 a.m. You're probably going to check it before you go to bed. You're going to check in between making dinner. There's all these advantages there. But the other thing is, like, even when you go on vacation, I'm not taking my laptop to the beach. I'm not opening that bad boy up. But I am probably going to still engage on LinkedIn for like 2 hours a day because that's what I do. So you think about that, like you are still selling, you are still engaging, you are still building a brand, and you've got the opportunity to do it from where the hell you're sitting at that moment. In the dentist chair, I literally do that while they're cleaning my teeth and hold my arms up and they think I'm nuts. But anyway, great point.
Thanks.
I want to go back to you saying how we need to modernize our sales processes. Obviously, social selling and LinkedIn plays a big part of that. But I have a really funny story to share with you guys I think you'll both love. So one of the SDRs in our team, who I'm very close with, Ben, we had a former manager that wrote out a sequence in our outreach that was very classic old school SaaS sales. And it ended with that iconic email that literally I get like goosebumps when I read this. And it's like, Sam, I've been emailing you I've emailed you 6 times, called 3 days or whatever. Sounds like I'm having a one-sided conversation here.
Oh,
and
no.
I cringe every time I see it because I'm like, yes, you are. They don't owe you anything, right?
Yeah.
Like you are intruding in their inbox and asking something of them. They don't know you. They don't owe you anything. And one time Ben received this hilarious email back from the prospect that was like, Ben, this is a one-sided conversation. I have not asked you to email me 6 times, call 9 times, whatever. Totally rips him apart. We all have a good laugh at it. We don't obviously use this sequence anymore. We deleted it immediately when this person left. And recently he posted it on LinkedIn to be like, I'm so embarrassed that I actually let myself send these emails. And the comments that trickled in from people that have been on the receiving end of that were hilarious. They were like, you know what? We've all been on the other end of this. We all receive it. But the fact that you can laugh about this now and post about it and recognize that we can't sell like this is pretty cool.
Great vulnerability. But, a lot of people give their advice from like their thrones up in the sky. Oh my God, if you ever looked at my original emails, I can't even imagine what a hot mess they were. The whole idea, right? And we talk about this at with our team as well at Sam Sales, and we have a channel called Oopsie Poopsie, where on Slack, very maturely, where we share our own issues, right? Our own problems. We share what people send us all the time, but we share things where we make disastrous mistakes. Making a mistake and trying things in sales, right? No one's ever going to fault you for that. It's what you learn from it and how you adjust, right? That's all that matters. If you keep doing this for 6 years and hope for the best, you're in trouble. Test it out. If you are also a BDR, an AE, whatever you may be at whatever level, and you don't have access to great content, and you have absolutely no education on how to do this, 1, for the love of God, go to our site and come to our webinars. 2, think about who your buyer is internally. Do you sell to a CMO, a CISO? Who is it that you sell to? Write an email to them, right? As if it was a sales email. Pull them aside and say, can I just get your attention for a few minutes? Trying to figure out how to do this. I have absolutely no guidance from my sales leaders, FYI. And then just say, can you tell me if this would resonate? Does this sound like the product we sell? Would this solve your challenges? Would this get you a response? And work on it, right? No excuses. Figure it out yourself if you don't have the resources to do it. I sure as hell did. I didn't have a BDR. I didn't have sequencing. I didn't have emails to write. I didn't have outreach. I didn't have any of that stuff. I had to just fucking figure it out. You can too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of education that's free out there. So there really are no excuses.
Well, there is now.
Even if you're just on LinkedIn.
What I would have killed to follow someone like Amy Volas or Jen Allen and like learn from them as a rep. Are you kidding? I would go to like anything that they would have done. Like that would have been my education. I read like Jeffrey Gitmer's little red book of sales in like the bathtub on vacation. Let that image sink in, ladies. But like that was the education I had access to. That was it. And then I had like spin selling and Sandler, and I wanted to jump off the ledge. Anyway,
I broke a lot of Sandler rules. I was like, okay, sure, but what about when this happens? What about when this happens?
The worst part is that like, I say this often, I've never been formally trained in sales. I've never gone through any of the methodologies. The only thing I've read is a challenger sale. So when sometimes I get, hopefully you guys are going to ask me this, but now you probably will. Sometimes I get on podcasts, people are like, what do you think of the upfront contract? I'm like, the fuck is that? I don't know what any of this terminology is because it doesn't matter. Like, it's the idea of like simple human interactions, how to have a conversation, how to actively listen, how to put them first instead of yourself. Even the words mutual action plan, when I first heard that, I was like, what the hell? And then it's like, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to tell you what you're going to do, and we're going to mutually agree. Ugh. Yes, that has to happen. Can you do it in a completely different way, conversationally, and not make your buyer feel like they have to like bathe in Purell after this? Yes. Forget all of this horse shit, right? Let's really just think about how to be a person, how to get our commitments, things like that. Forget all that methodology. The methodologies I do think are important. The bricks of your sales process. It doesn't matter if you know exactly what to do if you don't know how to do it, right? That's what we pride ourselves on teaching in our spot.
I had a trainer, a sales trainer, Sandler, who gave me shit for an entire year about not doing his very specific upfront contracts on every single call. And I'm like, still hit my quota and was still at the top of the leaderboard. And he just like, it was almost a joke at that point. He was like, it was a great call, but you didn't do your upfront contract. And I'd be like, yeah, but like he knew what was, the expectation was still there. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
But I'm glad that that's kind of dying. Like people haven't been talking about that so much lately.
Even like this also upsets people, but we do our perfect discovery call training. So it's probably one of our most popular workshops. And one of the things that we talk about in a discovery call is never to set an agenda. And people lose their minds. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, listen to you. Like, listen to yourself at the front of a call where you're like, Trina, I'm going to tell you what I'm about myself. I'm going to hear about yourself. We're going to exchange some information. And if we decide that it's a good next move, we're going to have a second call. How does that sound? Like literally imagine yourself doing that on a first date.
Yes.
The person would like leap out of their seat and away from the bar, wherever you are. Nobody does that, right? So why even waste the time? We know what we're here to accomplish. Oh my God. Okay, I will stop yelling.
No, it's really fun. I'm laughing at that specifically because I have a vivid memory of a manager yelling at me for not putting the agenda in the calendar invite. And I was like, they know what they're getting into on the discovery intro call. They know I'm going to give them a little intro of the company and the product and ask them some questions. Like, we all know how this goes.
For those people that are really like, how can you not do an agenda? Truly, send it if you must have it. Send it ahead of time. Send it in your calendar invite. Map it out exactly what the point of the call is. You've got 30 minutes together. Don't burn it on something so obvious and so like stodgy. Oh God. Anyway, weird. We've broken all these records and almost 200 clients in less than 4 years, so we've never set an agenda. Maybe like twice for a very specific meeting, but for discovery calls, what's up? What do you need? How can we help you?
Yeah.
Said much more elegantly than that.
So going back to the LinkedIn etiquette for salespeople, I have one kind of final question I want to ask you on this topic, which is obviously we talked about pitch slapping, bad. There's better ways to connect with people and chat with them and provide them value up front. But what are the other ways that you're seeing salespeople make mistakes on LinkedIn right now?
I would say a few things. So one, don't hijack somebody else's post for your benefit. So a while back, I posted about our LinkedIn masterclass that you can buy on our website. And it's like the person didn't actually read the post and then tagged my dear friend, Morgan Ingram, in the post and like, Morgan has a wicked masterclass. And I'm like, so do we, it's in the post.
Oh, no.
So Morgan didn't do it, just to be clear. Somebody was hyping him up. Whether you're doing that for someone else or yourself, don't do that. Gross. Also, if somebody happens to post on a topic that you just posted on, say as much, right? I just posted about this. Totally agree with your perspective. That's it. Hopefully the author has good etiquette where they'll say, oh my gosh, share your post. I'd love to see it. Let our audience see it. Can you drop a link? Wait until you're invited before you drop your own self-promotional stuff. That goes for articles. It goes for things you were featured in and Inc. magazine or whatever it may be. I think one other thing I would do is be really careful on plagiarization. Plagiarization, is that a word? Plagiarizing? Cite the author, right? Like Jen Allen just posted about this the other day. Like I think between her words and mine, we basically effectively said, I'm just plagiarizing her now. We both effectively said, like, there's no shame in citing a source. There's no shame in being inspired by somebody else's content. Say as much. One of the things I love about Sam's post is show me you know me. Here's exactly how I use that. Here's why it's near and dear to me. Go for it. Like, that's not a big deal. But if you blatantly plagiarize somebody else's work, right? One, they're going to know about it. And two, if it's pretty much a carbon copy, you're saying something about your character, and it's not a positive thing. We just the other day, you guys might have seen this, but there was a gentleman who posted and said the way that this is amazing, he booked like 4,000, yeah, Ashley, you probably saw it, 4,000 calls, 4,000 meetings in a month. How did he do it? In a month, using Show Me You Know Me. And I'm like, LOL. How the hell did you book 4,000 meetings using Show Me You Know Me? And then he went on and posted about it. So I got sent by, a bunch of people that were really nice to flag it for us. And so I commented and I said, good thing we trademarked that saying, buddy. I used his real name, starts with a B. And got a lot of likes. And then he DM'd me and he was like, I had no idea it was your trademark. I thought it was just like one of the things I say, like LFG. And I'm like, no, dude, it's my trademark. It says it in my headline. Don't give me that. You know it. So then he edited the post to say, tagging Sam McKenna, who also promotes the saying. I am the promoter, buddy. Like, I'm just kidding. I'm not that conceited or arrogant, I promise. But dang, right? Like, give credit where it's due. Be inspired by people. Talk about the same things. We're talking about things that are as old as time, right? Beauty and the Beast. There we go. But we're going to cite the source. So we're going to say where we learned it. We're going to give credit to the person that taught it to us. Don't make it your own if it's not.
This, I think, is a perfect segue into kind of also just talking about being a woman in revenue, because a very typical phenomenon, just in the workplace in general, is men taking credit for women's ideas or like repackaging it or saying it slightly different. And then all of a sudden it's a great idea or worthy of our attention. And our team in particular, going back to that kind of LinkedIn commentary, is also experiencing something like that, which is why Ashley's probably laughing, because I was bitching to her about it the other day. I was like, it takes 2 seconds to be like, thanks, so-and-so, for the idea, but whatever,
Yeah.
We're small LinkedIn creators. No one sees our shit anyways, but it's fine.
I
keep going. You'll get there.
Yeah, I had a guy I vented to, like an acquaintance person that we had helped each other sell into each other's orgs before. And I had some internal, like, not girl on girl crime because it was a dude, but somebody poached my deal and like my leadership didn't back me up. And it was really disheartening. And I told him about it. And I was like, this happened today. Like, I'm really upset about it. And he posted about it like 20 minutes later, didn't say, I mean, like, maybe I wouldn't have wanted him to tag me in that, but still, like, never acknowledged that the conversation happened and posted about it, and everyone, like, blew up about it. And I was like, I feel icky about that, even though it's not, like, an idea that you stole my experience and, like, exploited it, and then you didn't even mention to me that you were doing it at all. Like, I probably would have been like, yeah, sure, post about it, for sure. I don't really want to be tagged in that, but it bothered me.
Happens all the time. Well, and I think it's even like, it's amazing. There's like a well-known founder out there who starts most of their posts by saying, I was on the phone with the CEO of a $350 million company over and over and over again. And we all want to jump off a ledge when we read these posts, but you're sharing somebody's experiences. You're not tagging them. And what's amazing is sometimes you see them, the actual person comment, and they're like, hey, that's our conversation. And you're like, the person literally had no idea that story was going to be shared. Right.
Yes. Formulas are great. And I think that it's wonderful if you can create content that you can like repurpose over and over. But there's a line. Maybe you have opinions on this, where eventually I don't even want to follow someone because they're just saying the same thing over and over, or their format is always exactly the same and I'm bored. And that's
like the screenshots, the fake screenshots of your Twitter pictures that have 78,000 likes. And then you post it and say, agree?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
People do this.
Really?
It's probably because I block people if I don't like their stuff.
People will create fake screenshots of Twitter posts, and they will also put a verified, which I guess you can buy now. So it's not as important, but it'll have like 78,000 likes, 400,000 comments, whatever. Not really those numbers, but very high. And it's a graphic. Like Missy on our team, our head of creative, was so talented to create that. And then you post it as if, right, it was your own tweet. And then they write, agree, thoughts, what do you consider?
Wait, I never knew those were fake. I feel so dumb.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Just comment. Be like, oh my God, can you send me the Twitter thread? Why lie if it's so easy to suss you out? Oh my God.
Sam McKenna calling people out on their LinkedIn bullshit. I love it. No, I love it.
It's very hard to overcome the like sleazy salesperson persona that everyone thinks we are. And so when someone lies even about the tiniest little thing, it really pisses me off.
Yeah, it sets us back.
It sets us back,
Yeah.
and it's icky. And I think it was Beck Holland that posted about spoofing numbers recently and like spoofing the area code, right? And I was like, oh, I've always hated this. I've always been like, I will go in Outreach and turn that feature off if somebody like enables it for the whole company or something. Because I'm like, no, ew, yuck, no. I'm okay with like, hey, what if I call this person and they recognize my area code and that's a conversation starter? I'm wasting that. And if they do recognize that it's the same and it's not true, then I have to make something up. And anyway, it was like, yes, thank you for somebody who people listen to saying what we've all had to have been thinking. Like, that's just a lie.
Well, and I think like it goes back to like quality, like the quality of the conversation too, right? And the amount of advice that exists on LinkedIn that says when somebody picks up because they think it's their kid's school, right? Or you do the what is it called, like the double dial or some crap like that. I'm sure it's in some training book, but you call twice in a row to make them think it's an emergency and then they pick up. There's advice that says that when that person picks up and they say, I can't talk right now in a meeting, that you should challenge them on that. And one, say, it can't be that important because you picked up, excuse me? Or what was the other one to say? Oh, well, what's the meeting about? What? Get out of here. Who, A, teaches these things? And then B, who are the reps that are like, yes, genius, gonna do it? No. Would you ever say that to somebody like publicly facing at a conference? You walk up to them, they're on the phone, and they're like, I can't talk to you right now. I'm in a meeting. What's the meeting about? Would you ever say that? Would you ever have the audacity? What is it that makes us more comfortable doing it behind the phone? Please, like, don't continue to create a bad name for us. We're better than that.
Here's the thing about that, though. I think a lot of those processes are made with men specifically in mind because I don't know. I could imagine some of my male counterparts asking those questions in person, feeling comfortable. I could not see any of my women salespeople asking that confidently and being like, oh, well, what's your meeting about? You know what I mean? And I think it's like men sometimes have a little more confidence than women in these certain scenarios.
Ask yourself that exact same question if you were in that scenario and think about how you would react. My response would be completely unpleasant and HR write-up worthy. So.
Also, if you call me and I think it's my kid's school, I am not in a mood where if you say anything else to me when I find out that you're not my kid's school, that I'll ever talk to you again if you don't just let me go. Because that's the emotions that happen when you're a parent. You think it's your kid's school, you don't mess with that.
Totally.
Nope.
So we are obviously a Women in Revenue podcast, and we know that you have some stories that you think might be relevant to share for our listeners who are other women in revenue facing roles. Is there anything in particular that comes to mind that you think is like a really good experience to share?
Yeah, I think there's one that like I've slowly been more vocal talking about over the years. We actually talked about it in our newsletter last May or whenever the Women in Sales last October. I think it was 2 years ago that we kind of dropped this story. But one thing that was really interesting to me is I got into sales when reticently. I had the same perspective everybody else did, right? Most everybody else did when they got into sales, which was like, right? That's what we thought about for salespeople. I love corporate bro. Always like somewhere along the way you fucked up and you got into sales, right? I think like I was in for about 3 years and I had a colleague at this company who ultimately left and she went to my next employer on 24. I haven't worked for that many places, so it's usually hard. It's usually easy to figure out what employer I'm talking about, so I'll just say it. But when she got there, maybe 6 months or so later, she actually referred me, and we'd never got along at our previous company. She referred me, and I'm like, something feels weird. Is this a trick? Referred me. I actually declined, and then I ended up going 6 months later and took the job, went on 24. When I was in my room in San Francisco, I was going in for my first day of training. I messaged her, asked if I could call, and I called, and I said, I never got a chance to properly thank you for referring me. You know, I was really hopeful that this was a fresh start, that we'd get along here, that she'd let me in her world. And so A, I just wanted to say thank you. B, I just wanted to say, you know, if I have questions along the way, do you mind if I ping you from time to time to ask for your advice? And she said, no, that's what your boss is for. And she said his last name, as we all call them. And then she said, and I have no intention of seeing you succeed.
What?
What?
Yeah, it's amazing because I will always remember my birthday is actually tomorrow, and the clock literally said 7:19, I remember I still have the clothes I was wearing that day. Don't tell anyone I have clothes at 12 years old. However long.
Your secret's safe with us and
Oh,
everyone who
jeans.
listens.
Striped shirt. I remember the side of the bed that I was standing on. And what's amazing is that one, it like reinforced my commitment to counterbalance the behavior that's unfortunately still exists in so many women, that there isn't a seat at the table for everyone and that we are competition. The fact that that still exists blows my mind,
Yeah.
right? So one, reinforce that. And then two, we worked together for about 5 years by the time she left. And I remember it was Christmas, we went to lunch together, and I said, I just want to understand, like, we never seem to hit it off, right? Like, I'd love to use this as a learning opportunity. What happened? And she said, it wasn't you, your competition. There's only so many accolades for us, right? And I just had no interest in competing with you. Blows my mind, right? And I think the kind of experience that I had, there's unfortunately like a bit of a Me Too movement for this individual, for how she treated women, right? Like probably 20 of us that could come on and tell the exact same story on your podcast. I'll send you their names. What? But what's
Please
amazing, like years later, I got asked to be on a podcast. I found out that she was the second panelist, and I backed out. And she sent me some messages, and then I was on a live webinar. She called me 3 times in a row. I probably hadn't heard from her in 2 years. And I'm like, I bet she's like, literally my mind goes to, I bet she's watching me right now and she's trying to see if she can distract me. It was wild. And we had a conversation, and I said, she really wanted to repair things. And I said, I think we have a very different memory of our past. And I think it's really for the best if we go our separate ways and go on to our other careers and into our respective careers. And she said, I believe that you believe that how things happened. And I'm like, thanks for gaslighting me. And then said, basically took her opportunity to cut me down, right? And said, I'm glad to see that you're on the same podcast I'm on. No, it's the other way around. I'm glad to see, here's what happened when you joined our organization. People had to cut their territories to make room for you. I mean, it'd been 10 years at that point, right? Like,
That's what happens
where does
every
this
time
stuff
a
come
new
from?
sales hire comes in.
Also, did she not refer
What?
you to the job? I think I'm missing something.
I think so. I have run that in my head so often. I think it was for the referral bonus, which was like
Okay.
$2,500, and then just assuming I would fail because so many reps do fail. Oh, sorry, I already said the company name. Anyway, we'll just edit that out. It's fine. You can. Do
I
it.
don't think. I think the reputations of companies are pretty open now. Thanks, RepView.
Yeah,
Yes.
just look at Glassdoor. You're fine in RepView. Anyway, so my point to say, right, is that especially if you are a top performer and you have notoriety, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's inside your company, whatever you've done to get to where you are, do not think that people need to go through the same issues that you went through in order to succeed, right? Like, think of every progress that we've made for women and human rights and everything in our world. Like, why would we make other people suffer? Be proud of the fact, right, that you overachieved despite the circumstances, and open a path for others to do better. Shine a light on junior women that could use some visibility. Shine a light on introverted women who are shy to speak up, right, in large crowds because there's louder voices there. Help them get seen, mentor them, look for somebody with potential that you think you could make an impact to. Talk about women positively when they're not in the room, right? Like, there is so much that we can do. And, Amy Volas always says this, we really are better together. I think it's really important to look for your allies, and then also to think about, if you do have people like that in your organization, one, I always try to think about how to kill them with kindness. My mother was right with that stupid phrase, but really, like, how do you kill them with kindness? But even more so, how do you set an example that by you doing the right thing and you treating others well and you shining the light, that you get promoted, right? You're the one that gets opportunity because you're doing it the right way, not the this is mine and only mine way.
I love everything you just said. And quite frankly, it is a big piece of why we started this podcast in the first place, because there is a lot of woman on woman crime still. And it's because of that phenomenon you talked about of like, well, there can only be one at the table. Only one can be a top seller, right? There's only room for one on the team. And I think both Ashley and I were really, really tired of feeling like we were constantly either pitted against other women, either directly on our team or in our space. We've had our fair share of interesting moments where we're left scratching our head going, what?
Well, what's really tough in that, and that same company, I have a peer that I've worked with 2 companies now, but we had our SVP of sales that pitted us against each other, and it really caused us distrust because we didn't know who we could trust, right? And so it caused us to have an argument, and finally we were able to exchange some information to say, like, it was in fact my stance that I was like, you're being lied to, like I never said these things, etc. And then I think there was one piece of information that got the person to realize, wait, everything isn't what they seems, and then started asking me questions. I said things to her which she was like, that's the exact same story that I heard, of what you were saying about it or something like that. And so I think it's tough sometimes too, because men can see even women can see an opportunity to pit women against each other. So it's important that we're kind of hyper aware. We're aware if we see that kind of manipulative behavior. I can say that word. And think about how to use the resources around us to counterbalance or shed light on the fact that toxic behavior is happening.
Yeah. We talked about this with Alexine a little bit. And same thing happened to her. She had a VP that was pitting her against another woman. And she said, we were both new to sales and we were at the bottom of the leaderboard. So why are we getting pitted against each other? Like, because we're women? Mm-hmm. And then people turn around like, oh, it's just women. They're so catty. They're so bitchy, whatever. It's like, actually, no. That's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's miserable to hear.
Well, there's a sticker on a street lamp that I used to walk past all the time in Chicago, and it says, helping others helps yourself. And I always was like, I like that. And it's true.
I love that. On the other side of my camera, my dear friend Rachel Shields Williams gave all of us in our group a frame that says empowered women empower women. Yeah. And I know that's an old saying, but man, true. It's so true.
And that's why we wanted people like you on to talk about this. So we love that you're here shedding light on it.
Thanks, you guys, for having me. This is what a joy this was to do today.
Thank you.
So before we wrap up, we do always end each episode with a rapid fire round of would you rather questions that are specific to you.
Let's hear it.
Are you ready for them?
Gotta go fast.
I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. Would you rather work with just 5 clients that pay a lot of money but are very difficult to work with, or have 200 smaller clients but they're all super easy to work with?
Smaller. Although the difficult would be a challenge to overcome and to make them not difficult. True. But I'm going smaller.
You could get a lot of LinkedIn posts out of that.
It's true.
All right. Second question. Would you rather have to give up LinkedIn forever or the ability to gift?
Oh my God. The ability to gift
is,
I'm going to say gift because LinkedIn, this is so cheesy, but I feel like posting on LinkedIn is a gift. Oh.
Remember that next time you see Sam's post. That's a gift to you. All right. Would you rather use a tool that tells you exactly what type of content to post to get in front of your targeted audience, or a tool that automatically pays you $50 every time someone pitch slaps you?
Definitely the pitch slap. I'd be so rich. Or anytime somebody says, can I
free
pick
money.
Your brand? No.
No. I love it. Would you rather have to do the chicken dance every time someone says, show me you know me, or never be allowed to use the phrase ever again?
A chicken dance. I will walk through fire to make anybody laugh. So double win for me.
Let's see it. Show me you know me.
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Is that the hokey pokey? I don't know what the hell I just did, but I think that's a chicken dance.
Whatever it was beautiful. All right, final question. Would you rather receive 1,000 pitch slaps every single day, or have to give 100 pitch slaps every single week?
Receive. I could never put my name on it. Receive.
You'll never look at your connections again.
Oh, God.
Well, that's it for the Would You Rather questions. Sam, thank you so much for being here. It has been such a fun time chatting with you, and we really appreciate you getting really candid about talking about just your experience as a woman in revenue, because we know it really helps other women that are listening to this podcast. And obviously you are a wealth of knowledge.
Thanks, you guys.
Yes.
Pleasure to hang out with you both. Really, really appreciate the conversation.
Yes. And for anybody who's listening, you can listen to Sam's 2 not podcast episodes, maybe someday, her 2 walk-up songs. And I think that we can safely say they should all be following you on LinkedIn, signing up for your webinars, maybe even paying for some courses.
pop over to samsalesconsulting.com. That's where you can sign up for our webinars, our newsletter, our courses. Even if you just sign up for our newsletter, I'll make you laugh every Friday. Paige is our head of marketing, does a pretty damn awesome job, usually making fun of me. But you get some modern memes and sales tips out of it too.
Perfect.
All right. That's it. You know where to find her.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
We'll see you next
See you
week.
next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Ashley and Katrina's Infinite Revenue Playlist. This show is powered by ComSoar, the go-to-network company. ComSoar is the complete suite of tools for teams looking to grow, activate, and engage their networks. If you enjoyed the learnings and banter in this episode, there's more where this came from. Follow Ashley and Katrina's Infinite Revenue Playlist wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. See you next time.